Welcome back to Betty. I'm your host, Cynthia Thompson. I want to ask you all a question today. Did you know that diabetes is one of the highest diseases here in the United States? And it's pretty high here in Charlotte, too. And I bet a lot of you that are diabetes don't know that there is an American Diabetes Association right here in Charlotte that's here to educate you and help you with all your diabetic needs. And I have two people here with me today that's going to educate us on everything about the ADA. And I want you to introduce yourselves to our viewers so that they know who you are.
I'm Pat Higgins, and I'm a manager here at the American Diabetes Association in Charlotte.
Uh-huh.
And I'm Lawton Hatley. I am chair of the Community Leadership Board for the association.
So Pat, I want to ask you a question. What exactly is the ADA?
Well, the American Diabetes Association is the largest association that focuses on diabetes, and our mission really is to help find a cure for diabetes and also to help all of the people who have diabetes or who are affected by diabetes manage and live with the illness day to day. And to do that, we have many programs that we do across the country, and some really fun and exciting ones that we do here in Charlotte. And Charlotte, like a lot of cities, has a large number of people with diabetes, and you can't tell necessarily, because if you look at me, you can't tell that I have diabetes.
That's true.
But I'm a type 2 diabetic. So we really have to work hard to get the word out and to provide resources for the community. In the country, nearly 26 million people have diabetes, and that's more than AIDS and breast cancer combined. Here in Charlotte, 165,000 people have diabetes in the greater Charlotte area.
165,000 people?
That's right. And fully 25% of them don't know they have it yet, but will. It's a very insidious disease that is becoming something that we can manage day to day, and we do research here in North Carolina for cures and for treatments. And in Charlotte in particular, the programs that we have really are trying to address the communities that have diabetes. And one of the newest programs that we just introduced is called Live Empowered. And it is targeted to the African American community, because African Americans have diabetes almost twice as often as other ethnic groups.
Twice as often?
Twice as often. And we don't know all the reasons why yet. Diet, lifestyle. The South has quite a bit of incidence of diabetes, a lot because of the culture we live in. So Live Empowered is a program that we are introducing through the churches in the African American community. We are training trainers to go back into their own churches and conduct programs to help provide information and resources on diabetes. We have lots of great materials that we pass out in the churches, and that's just getting off the ground. We're in 6 of the major churches right now in Charlotte, and we'll increase that as we have more training programs. And they help people with diet and you know, when you should go to the doctor and those kinds of things. So that's one of the programs that we're doing right now.
Let's say, Pat, a person came to the American Diabetes Association because they just found out that they were diabetic. What are some things that you would do for that person?
Well, we get a lot of calls like that. Where do we turn? What do we do? And so we immediately, well, we tell them, of course, go and see your doctor if you think you have diabetes or if you've been diagnosed and you have questions. But our website, diabetes.org, O-R-G, is one of the best medical websites and just informational websites that I've ever seen. And it's written in such a way that it's easy to understand and has very, very extensive resources for people to learn about diabetes and to see what they need to get in terms of materials for their families. We have booklets from cookbooks for diabetics to how to live with children and manage your children who have diabetes, because you can be your babies can have diabetes. We know of a little boy right now who got his first pump when he was 18 months old.
Oh.
Type 1 diabetic, and he's a trooper. He knows he gets that there's something that he has to do all the time, and his parents manage it, and we help with those kinds of things. And we also help with advocacy, and that's something that's Lawton's area of expertise.
That's right. On the website, you can sign up to become an advocate, and there's actually 2 tracks of advocates that you can choose between. For the general population, we have various initiatives that the association is trying to push through the representatives and Senate in Washington. And a lot of those have to do with funding for medical research and special programs that are carried out in the various governmental agencies, and they're always needing funding. And so we have a way for you to log on to www.diabetes.org/advocate and register, and that sets you up with an account to where you can reach out to your elected officials, whether it be Hudson, Pettinger, or Watt here in Mecklenburg County, as well as your Burr and Hagan at the Senate level, and let them know that you care about these issues and you would like to see Congress pass these pieces of legislation that will help address the funding for the search for the cure, as well as programs that help educate the population on what diabetes is and how they can better live with it.
I find it very hard to believe that people aren't aware of diabetes. Do you really think that we need more education on it?
A lot of times, folks who develop diabetes over their lifetime, as they get into a certain lifestyle, are unaware of the impacts of that lifestyle. And diabetes can be something that creeps up on you. It's not something that you wake up one day and hits you like a wall. Most of the time, it's kind of a slow progression. You notice the signs. Your vision will get a little worse and a little worse and a little worse. You will get a thirst that you don't know what it's from. You just realize, I'm drinking water all the time. You may have pain stemming from neuropathy. Your feet may not feel right some days. And like I said, it escalates. And so until you put it together that you have all these things occurring and make that trip to the doctor, and the doctor sits down and talks to you about what your blood sugar is doing and how that impacts the various organs and systems in your body, then you may not know that you've actually fallen into full-blown type 2 diabetes.
In fact, I really was a diabetic for many years, apparently, before I was diagnosed. And I didn't put the symptoms together that Lawton was talking about. And you also have a great deal of fatigue with it. Well, we all burn the candle at both ends.
Both
and
ends.
Yeah, and work long hours. So I didn't put it together. And I injured my little toe, and it wouldn't get better. And I thought I broke it. And so I went to the doctor, and he said, "No, you're diabetic. You don't have your blood sugar is way high. You don't have anything wrong with your toe. That's neuropathy." And that's how I was diagnosed. And it turned out that I really had to work hard to get my blood sugar down to where it should be, because I had really been diabetic for a long time. So that's why I say when you look at someone, you can't tell, and if they don't put together those symptoms and ask, it's really why it's very important to do public awareness about this, because it is a silent disease and people don't see it. So we reach out to the media, of course, quite a bit to try to gain awareness, but we also do it through our fundraisers. On November 2nd, Saturday, November 2nd, we have our annual walk coming up. It's Step Out Walk to Stop Diabetes. And we'll be walking in Symphony Park next to South Park Mall. And there will be at least 1,500 of us who get out to do that. It's a main fundraiser. And people who want to walk and want to learn more about diabetes, because we have a health fair at the walk as well, where you can go to the various booths and learn about different companies that work with diabetes, and we give out information as well there. So if people want to learn more about that, they can go to the website, and it's, again, www.diabetes.org, and that's /step out.
Do you have this walk every year around the fall?
Every year, generally around the same time. And as you know, there are lots and lots of walks here in Charlotte.
Yes. Charlotte is a nice place to go on 5Ks or do the walks if you like walking.
And ours is
no
a very
shortage.
family-friendly event. We have activities for kids. We have places you can take team pictures. Our walkers who are diabetic are called Red Striders, and we do special activities for them. So it's really a great family affair, and you can come and raise some money to help with diabetes.
I know that you have this walk in the fall. Are there any other activities similar to this or events that you have centered around diabetes?
Yes, we do. We have in March, usually I think it's like the third Thursday or something like that in March, we have Diabetes Alert Day. And that's gotten more important because we do have a very simple risk test that people can take to determine whether they ought to be, whether they're at risk for diabetes. And it's a 7-question test, and if you answer yes to a certain number of the questions, you ought to see your doctor to be checked out. And we emphasize that on Alert Day every year, and we do lots of activities. This year we had the big billboard, the digital billboard out in front of the epicenter all day long, and that kept flashing up information about diabetes and the risk test, and we were giving out brochures uptown and a couple of other locations. So that's one of the things we do. Another thing we do is Father of the Year awards, and those were in June, and this year we were raising $365,000 for our work for diabetes, and we honor outstanding fathers. Mothers are wonderful, of course, and get a lot of attention, but dads don't always get quite as much attention.
That's true.
So we honor between 4 and 6 fathers each year who are outstanding at both balancing their professional lives with their home lives and making their family their top priority. And so the dads raise money for us, and we have a great big gala that's wonderful. Their kids shoot a video about their fathers. There's never a dry eye in the house.
It's very emotional.
It's a very family event. And we also have, in fact, coming up this next spring in 2014, we are going to have what's called Tour de Cure here in Charlotte. It's a bicycle event that you can do up to 100 miles. There's 3 different lengths you can do from a short length up right up to 100 miles, but it's a fundraiser for diabetes. Very popular. We also have one in the spring in Columbia, South Carolina. So those 2 events are really fun things. And in North and South Carolina, there is a huge cycling community, and they turn out for these kinds of events. They're a lot of fun. So we have both of those events as well, and those are our main fundraising events. We do school walks. In fact, school advocacy is one of the things that Lawton deals with too, and that's a really important area for us.
And that's kind of the second path that an advocate can take with the association. We look for folks who are involved in the legal field because to work in the discrimination cases that get referred to the ADA kind of requires a legal background. And so if someone faces a discrimination instance, whether it be in schools or in the public or in the workplace, they can call the association and they will refer them to a local attorney who can assist them.
So what are some of the things that could happen to kids in schools that are diabetic?
Well, what I'm seeing a lot of right now revolves around the pump treatment that is used for especially type 1s. And because this is a younger population, the students are at school and they will have a problem with an insertion site or the reservoir to their pump, and the insulin that's in it will run out. And a lot of times what's happening is the school administration and the school nurses are not comfortable with the pump and its workings. And so we're kind of stepping back to the 1950s to where if a student had a problem in school, the solution was to call mom and dad. Well, under current legislation, the school is supposed to be trained and be able to be the provider of care for that student. And so whenever the school steps away and doesn't do that, the student is left to either be harmed by problems of not having their treatment regimen up to par, or the school calls in mom and dad to come and assist the student. And what happens in that case is mom and dad are working. Well, if they always have to leave work, they end up losing their job. And so this forces the family to basically become a one-income household. So the school system is taking away that salary. And so it has negative implications on the household.
You know, I never thought about that.
It is one of the situations that doesn't come to spotlight until it's a big media case or something along those lines happen, or you unfortunately have a student who has a reaction in school and has to have medical personnel come in and assist.
You know, sounds like you all have a lot of fun, but you do a lot of work too.
Oh, there's a lot of hard work that goes into it.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about who all does all this work. You cannot do it alone, okay?
Sounds good.
Clean kitchen surfaces, utensils, and hands with soapy water. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
But it would be safe to keep your distance until there's no secret that laughter makes you smile. Reliable sources say that chicken soup has found their way out of this dangerous, but they are returning.
Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. Go to discovertheforest.org.
Hi, welcome back to Betty. I'm your host, Cynthia Thompson. I'm here with some friends of mine from the ADA here in Charlotte, North Carolina. They work with diabetes and they are diabetics also. I would have never known had they not told me. And they were telling me about all the things they do, the events they put on, the work that they do for the people here in Charlotte, how they support the community. And it sounds like a lot. And surely, Pat, you cannot do it by yourself.
Well, we definitely can't, and Lawton is a perfect example of one of a volunteer who works for us, and actually for 13 years I was a volunteer. I just joined the ADA a year ago in October as a professional staff, but I worked both in Chicago and here as a volunteer, and we have a wide network of volunteers who they may pick a specific event they like to participate in. They create walk teams for the walk, and that's their volunteer work. I have folks that help me with marketing and public relations. We have a council of volunteers for our Father of the Year event who help us identify great dads that we can honor. So you really can't do it without volunteers.
Yeah, the ADA is great about having various levels for people to volunteer. If you don't have a lot of time and you can commit a day, then we would ask you to join a walk team and walk with us in the fall. If you have more time and perhaps network connections, we might ask you to captain a team, and that way you bring together a bunch of fundraisers and people who are interested in the cause. If you really want to get involved and help with the walk, you can be on walk committee and therefore volunteer a couple of times the months preceding the walk. And then we also have committees that go around year-round, such as the Community Leadership Board, and you can be on that for 1 year or multiple years and help with all the initiatives and programs that the association puts together. So if you are wanting to help, there are multiple avenues for you to pick and devote something to the organization and have an impact.
And here in Charlotte, they can just call the ADA office at 704-373-9111. And if they'd like to volunteer or get more information about anything that we do.
So it sounds like you just need to call or show up, and you will have something for them.
We
to
will
do.
Find you something.
We will put you to work.
You know, I want to ask you something. You said you had several programs at the ADA. Do you offer support for family members if by chance their child has been diagnosed with diabetes, what they need to do, how they need to give the shot, how often they need to go to the doctor, those sort of things?
We absolutely can help. We don't give them medical advice because that's something that their doctor really needs to do. But we can give them all kinds of information on what kinds of diets their children should have, and frankly, they should be eating too. It's healthy eating for everyone. What signs to look for, all of the kinds of things that a parent would worry about. We pretty much have resources for. We have a beautiful little placemat. It's laminated. That's called Create a Plate. Create Your Plate, and it's really based. And we were ahead of the game, really, based on the new food. What used to be the food pyramid now is the Create the Plate, where half of your plate should be vegetables and fruit, and this much for meat and this much for starch. So we can provide those. We have what's called a wisdom kit also, which is available through their pediatricians for children who have been diagnosed with diabetes. That's just full of all kinds of kid-themed materials that can help the parents and the children understand what diabetes is and how to manage it.
We also have on the website a great interactive tool that allows parents to connect with other parents of recently diagnosed or parents who have had children diagnosed for a number of years to help form a support group so that, speaking of insulin pumps, whenever you first get the pump, you can go into this website and talk to a parent who has used that model who can provide you tips. I know the instructions say this, but it works better if you first wipe it with Neosporin and clean the spot really well, and just give those kinds of insights, things you wouldn't just know as you are starting this treatment regimen. And that also goes through older ages as well. So if you have young adults who are diagnosed, they can log in and connect with other young adults who are worried about wearing the insulin pump in the business atmosphere. How do you react whenever your pump alerts you during a board meeting? What do you do whenever you're traveling? How do you get through the airport? All sorts of things of that nature. And it goes right on up through seniors and older Americans, to where you can talk about dealing with it with other medications you may be on, or what benefits you can get. How are you getting through the Medicare circles? What are you doing? What are you saying so that you know to get prescriptions and insulin covered?
You know, Pat, I was just thinking about a question while you all were answering that one. Charlotte is changing. We're slowly becoming the melting pot. Do you offer programs for other ethnic groups also?
We do. We offer programs for Hispanic families and have materials. Most all of our materials come in Spanish, and we do provide those whenever we are asked for organizations and those are generally free to them as well, to anyone who asks for materials. So yes, we do have ones for those. The Native American and Asian population also has diabetes, a little more than the Caucasian community. We don't here in Charlotte have separate programs for them, but around the country we do have, where there are larger populations. But the Hispanic and African American programs are a big focus to us. As I was mentioning before, with African Americans having diabetes almost twice as often, the Hispanic population has diabetes 1.7 times as often as Caucasians. And again, we think that has a lot to do with lifestyle. You may have heard in the South here a family saying, well, we have a touch of sugar.
Right, I've heard that.
Yes, and that's diabetes we're talking about. And I didn't hear that till I moved south here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I'm from New Jersey, and we don't talk about having a touch of sugar there. But as soon as I heard that, I thought, oh yeah, that's diabetes they're talking about. And it seemed to be an accepted thing, but as we know, it shouldn't be, because it's such a serious. Sometimes people think, oh well, we just have to live with that, but you don't. It can be managed, and we're living proof that you can manage it every day. And we hope for a cure too, but we have to worry about the all of those people who already have it and have to manage the disease.
I'll ask you, both of you, one last question. What do you get out of doing what you're doing with the ADA?
For me, there's nothing like helping people solve their problems. So whenever I work with a family who is facing a challenge with a school, the benefit of seeing the relief in the family's face whenever you are able to say, I talked with the principal, I talked with the school nurse, and they are going to support you by getting training, learning your child's specific insulin pump and the instructions that go with it so that they can do the insertion sets, they can calibrate the pump, they can count the carbs, and they can help your child whenever your child is in that moment and can't take care of themselves, so that the parent knows that their child is safe at school. And seeing the relief and the peace of mind that I can help give that family makes it all worthwhile.
Now I know this is going to be easy for you because you've been a volunteer for so long, and now
That's
you work
true.
with them.
Well, the reason I got involved is because it's personal for me too. You know, once I was diagnosed and was looking around to see how I ought to spend my time that giving back, the ADA made perfect sense for me, and I needed all the programs. I needed the resources that you know we have, and so I learned about those as I was learning about diabetes. And so I volunteered when I was living in Chicago. And a funny true story. I moved down here 11 years ago, and when I got here, I got a call from the executive director at the time saying, would I come and volunteer? And I said, well, how did you hear about me? And he said, well, they called ahead from Chicago that you were coming here. So I went and I volunteered again down here, and he said, well, it's really a good thing because we already have your name on the letterhead as part of the council. So I get a lot of satisfaction with it, as Lawton said, with helping other people and helping myself as well.
You know, I want to thank you both for joining me today. I have learned a lot about what ADA, what all you all do. I visited your website, and your website is
www.diabetes.org.
And I want each and every one of you to go to that site if you're watching today so that you can learn more about diabetes. And I want to thank each and every one of you for
For watching my show, Better You, here on Public Access every Wednesday night at 6 p.m.